Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to a episode of the Overwatch League coverage show, I suppose. I don't know, I'll come up with a catchy name for this later. But the first day of Overwatch League has concluded. Well, the first evening, I literally sort of went to bed at about 6 in the morning, which isn't too unusual for me, but good God, I can't keep doing that just for the Overwatch League. But I wanted to stay up and see the first night of games, and I managed to do so. I sent out a couple of predictions before we began. Literally a short list onto Twitter. I'll try and screen grab that for you so you guys can see it. One or two of these are a little bit unusual in terms of what I expect to happen and what actually did happen, and we'll go over these as I run through the games. First things first though, it was the first night of a broadcast and I was expecting a couple of technical issues, a few, hitches here and there. It's normal for an esports event, and literally none of them happened. Blizzard ran a very, very smooth event, and that screen that they have in the background that changes color and all that kind of stuff, it looks fan-fucking-tastic. So yeah, very well done for a very slick-looking production, very high production quality, and it looks good. It looks like what you would expect out of a professional league where people spent $20 million to buy into it. So we had 3 matches last night, first of which was the Florida Mayhem going up against San Francisco Shock. And this was a little bit of an upset. San Francisco Shock are widely considered as one of the weaker teams in the league. They have a bit of a weaker roster, for example. Especially compared to some of the other teams out there, shall we say. But one thing I had heard going into this was that San Francisco Shock had been scrimming for one of the longest periods of time compared to other teams, so they were going in relatively well prepared. Now, Florida Mayhem, however, are a team that can easily match that. They are the old Misfits roster, or at least most of it. So pretty much a pure Swedish powerhouse with a little bit of Belgian flair thrown in there with Logics. I was honestly expecting the Florida Mayhem to do extremely well. Unfortunately, they really seemed to underperform. I'd heard a little bit before the matches actually began that Florida Mayhem hadn't been practicing and haven't been scrimming properly, at least until they got to the US. So basically, that was about 3 days before games began, so they haven't really been scrimming. They basically Team UK'd the entire thing. Now, this is pre-season, but weak performances are still weak performances, and it still should be kind of, Tavik looked good, but Tavik always kind of looks good, but beyond that, nothing really jumped out. San Francisco Shock, however, looked a little bit stronger than everyone was expecting, with Baby Bay definitely having a standout performance throughout the entire night. His Widowmaker play really did start taking over a couple of games, but then he also played like absolutely every hero on the goddamn roster. He played Pharah, Genji, I think he played McCree for a little while as well. I think he was on Soldier for a while. He's played pretty much everything. Now, what I will say is that, honestly, he probably doesn't need to play that many heroes, and his Genji was not amazing in this match. His Genji left kind of a lot to be desired. Now, apparently this lad does the shot calling on top of all of it, so definitely a standout performance from him. He seems to be one to watch going forward. My big concern with San Francisco Shock, of course, is that they seem to have a bad habit of layering ults, and I was lucky enough to be surrounded by a couple of pros, including some of the best support mains in the world at the time, and they were staggered beyond belief. Well, no, San Francisco Shock weren't staggered beyond belief. They were literally layering on top of each other, but the pros were staggered. They were stunned by, the sound barrier plus Valkyrie combo, just in case, you might need to res someone, but who knows? You got to protect them with a barrier anyway, just in case. You just got to make sure that, no one dies despite having 2 free resurrects, whatever. Anyway, hopefully San Francisco Shock can get that one sorted out. They did manage to take it 3-1 above the Florida Mayhem. Following up from that, we had LA Valiant versus the Shock, and honestly, LA Valiant have one of the most powerful rosters in the tournament, but I had pinned them to lose this match. I expected it to be a close win for San Francisco Shock. Why? Because, like I said, I'd heard that Shock had been practicing a lot for a long time now, and with Valiant only getting some of their players out relatively late compared to some of the other teams, I expected them to be a little bit under practice. They are one of the most talented rosters, however, in the league, and I was expecting them to do relatively well, but it was either going to be that Shock would beat them, and I usually expect 1 upset per tournament, or alternatively, Shock would just absolutely get destroyed. Valiant actually didn't do that. They actually seem to be struggling here. Now, this could be a number of different reasons. Part of it is that their star DPS player, or at least one of their star DPS players, shall we say, which is Agilities, can't play in the preseason, but he can play in the main season. He's 17 right now, and I think he turns 18 in like a month, so he'll be able to play in the main season, but he can't play right now. It's still overall more than a little bit messy out of both teams, but they're still getting used to it. I imagine they're still getting used to playing on that stage as well, and it'll be interesting to see them developing forward. Expecting a huge amount out of LA Valiant in the future. Really hoping to see them develop into one of the stronger teams, and if you support them, then it's a good reason to. Rounding out the night, of course, was the Seoul Dynasty going up against the Shanghai Dragons, and honestly, yeah, everyone kind of expected that this was going to be a 4-0. This is one of the strongest teams in the league and one of the strongest teams that Korea could produce, and going up against a team that I've heard mixed things about, like that this might not even be the strongest Chinese roster that they could have fielded. I don't know much about the Chinese Overwatch region, but it's no great surprise seeing Seoul come out dominant here. I will say there is a silver lining for the Chinese player Dia, who had an amazing performance on Widowmaker as well. A couple of really good Widow performances throughout the night, but Dia's definitely stood out as one of the stronger ones. So they at least have that in the back pocket, right? There's that silver lining. Of course, the Koreans naturally performed extremely well across the board and looked pretty good. Now, of course, it goes without saying that this is the preseason, and, you know, a lot of the questions that I saw sort of getting asked relatively regularly will be probably addressed in the main season. One of the big ones was, why is this not on Twitch? From what I understand, they are setting up a broadcasting deal with Twitch that has gone through. I've heard rumors that, you know, that deal has gone through, so it will be on Twitch come main season, which is great, because while it looked busy on the MLG player that I was watching on, and the MLG player like worked fine, it looked great, it's still, you've got to get that Twitch presence, right? Like, that's what everyone talks about. Oh, the esport, oh, we have 9 billion viewers on Twitch or whatever. Like, it's good to be there. The viewers are already there. Everything is already there. So if they can get it there full time, great. The other big question I saw asked was, you know, why are they playing best of 4s? You know, because that's just going to give you draws, especially because the preseason is a single elimination sort of tournament. I'm guessing it's just because this is all a practice run. Like, this is literally, and this is why I think that they're doing it on the MLG player. I don't think they really care too much. Like, they care, I'm sure they care, but they don't care a huge amount. Now, the emphasis isn't here onto getting as many viewers as humanly possible. The emphasis is more on getting everything working smoothly, so that when Season 1 starts, then it's all working, everything's as smooth as silk, everything is fine, everything's good. And so, because during that regular season they're going to be playing in these best of 4 formats, they're going to be doing sort of the one of each map type, round type, and playing in a league format rather than an elimination tournament. That's where this is coming from. Otherwise, I'm looking forward to deep diving into some of these games and having a real close look at them. I'm interested to see how the meta develops. It looks like, you know, we're moving into Zenyatta Mercy still, which is okay. Mercy still widely regarded as being, you know, a little bit overpowered, shall we say, at the very least. Widowmaker definitely seems to be making a comeback in a big way, but we saw a lot of hero diversity regardless. Like, we saw, you know, pharmacy comps, we saw dive comps, we saw some tanky comps coming out, we saw some bastion comps on Junkertown, no surprise. We saw a little bit of everything, basically. And that's honestly a good sign. I think once Mercy is sort of under control, then things start opening up even more. And I mean, we've been in that situation for a while, and Mercy was reined back and nerfed back a little bit, but you might need a little bit more. Or at least just Valkyrie sort of needs controlling a little bit. And once that happens, then, hey, you know, we actually have a relatively diverse hero pool available to us in competitive, which is pretty cool. I think that's pretty cool. Otherwise, guys, this has been a brief little recap of the first night of Overwatch League. Still fully planning out how I want to tackle the Overwatch League content. I think I'll just do videos like this, which are little fluffy updates alongside more sort of knuckles deep analysis content on the league as a whole. But thank you for watching to the end. I've been Josh as one voice amongst many. Let me know if you guys are hyped for the league. Let me know if you guys will be cheering for London Spitfire tonight. Hopefully I get this video out today, because I'm going to be streaming in an hour anyway. But yeah, it was good fun for me to watch. I'm looking forward to watching London Spitfire versus LA Gladiators later on tonight, and hopefully catching a few more of the games relatively soon. Thank you once again for listening all the way to the end. I've been Josh, one voice amongst many, and I'll see you next time. Toodles.